Well, as you know, I've had the Cuben Fibre Exodus pack for a little while now, and I was hoping to get all 3 packs to Cheddar and do a comparison video there, but I've just not had a chance to get down there. So basically I've brought a great big huge rucksack and a great big huge tent, because I thought, okay, I'll just bring everything with me on this one trip to Dartmoor, 2 nights here, and do various videos on one trip. So starting on the right, we have the new Exodus in Cuben Fibre. Then we have the original Exodus in whatever the material is, and then over here we have the Prophet. And I've used both of these bags, for me, quite a lot. Okay, I'm not a seasoned walker or anything like that, but I've used them a lot, and I like them a lot. I think they're very, very nice bags. So I was kind of very interested when the Cuben Fibre version came out, to get hold of one. And I like it a lot. I think it's a really, really nice pack. I do have a couple of reservations about it. Having said that, I still think it's the nicest pack of all of them. But I still think there's a few reservations, so I'll come on to that later. So, first of all, when they're all laid out next to each other, Prophet, Exodus, Exodus. The first thing that's of note is they're all pretty much the same length. There's very, very little in the length of them. And I did do a quick measurement, and they were about 30 inches long. I did weigh the packs. Lassie! I did weigh the packs before coming out here. I've got it written down somewhere, but from memory, and this is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting as well. The Prophet, without anything on it, just the pack, is around about 450 grams. The standard Exodus is around about 500 grams. I think it was about 510. And the Cuben Fibre Exodus, which for some reason I was expecting to be lighter really, but bizarrely is actually heavier than both of the other two. It's approximately 550 grams. So that's like one of my little reservations, as I was expecting it to be lighter, but it's actually a little bit heavier. 50 grams is nothing, but it is heavier. When I weighed all of the packs, I weighed, because with the Cuben Fibre I have the hood, the side pockets, and the drinks bottles on the side. So just for clarity, and I took all of that stuff off the other 2 packs, so I didn't want to be carrying like an absolute ton onto Dartmoor. I just didn't want to be removing it from the pack that I'm kind of like currently using. So for clarity, I did weigh individual items and then use my calculator, not the brain, to work out weights. So 450 grams, 510 grams, 550 grams. Okay, I did bring this tape measure with me. It's just a it's just a cheapy tape measure, but it gives us interesting information. The Prophet, and I'm going to do everything in inches because it's easier for me. I think it's easier for me to remember low numbers. So the Prophet was 11 inches wide. So from stitching to stitching, that's 11 inches. The Exodus was 12 inches. The Cuben Exodus was 11 inches. And this is a partly where one of my reservations comes in. The new Exodus is narrower than the original Exodus. Maybe it was done, and I also, the Cuben Fiber Prophet and the Cuben Fiber Exodus are the same size, although I've not verified it on the MLD website, but this is how I understand it. They're the same size, it's just the Exodus is taller. Okay, I've measured the width of them. The Prophet was 5 3/4 inches. The Exodus was 7 inches, and the Cuben Fiber Exodus is 7 inches. Cuben Fiber Exodus is the Jon Snow of the bags. It's like it's the bastard of the bags, because it's the same width as the original Prophet, and it's the same sort of thickness, or whichever way you want to call it, of the Exodus. Right, the original Prophet and the Exodus, you have a drinks, a drink hole thing, a hydration sleeve. You have pockets on the outside, one here, one here, one here, which are all excellent features. I always use bungee cord because I like putting my foam mats on the outside, so that's why I've got like a ton of bungee cord here. You have side compression straps here, and on the back the reason why the straps are loose is I undid them to take the drinks bottles off. On the back you obviously have a hang loop, you have a compression strap to go over the top, and obviously waist pockets or waist straps here. Lassie! And of course sternum strap here. On these packs, let me get my tape measure again. So on these packs, the main material goes up to around about 23 inches, and then the other 7 inches is taken up with this material here, just for cinching it up. And usually with that I might go slightly into this top black material. Sometimes I might go that much in or something like that, but I never take it right to the very top. Never ever. I've never ever done that. But I might take it, say, this far, and then with the draw cord pull it closed, and that's pretty much it. So in this pack, and the same with the Exodus, whichever one I use, the weight never really goes much higher than maybe this far above the shoulder strap. Just to give you an example, that's from the shoulder strap to there is 10 inches. And I don't think I've ever filled this pack up so much that I'm using 10 inches above, I'd probably only be using 6 inches or so. Back to the good old 6 inches. I'd probably only ever be using around about 6 inches above there, which would be what, 3 inches of this here, of this stuff here. So I'm never going to have this pack completely and utterly loaded to the top. Okay, I'm not going to show you a rundown of the Exodus pack because it's exactly the same. It's just going to be, you know, a tiny bit bigger. Not only is it sort of wider, but it's thicker too, deeper. It's just a bigger all around. Okay, so I just got to remind myself because I'm not very good at remembering things. So the Cuben Fiber Exodus was 11 inches wide, which is the same as the Prophet, but it's 7 inches deep back to front, which is the same as the Exodus. So it's kind of like a tall, it's kind of like a long sausage. Not sure that's the best description for one of Ron's masterpiece, a tall sausage. Anyway, so it's kind of like tall and fat. Oh God, it's getting worse. Okay, now then, what I did do, I'm not packing up today, I'm staying here today, but I did put some items in a couple of stuff sacks. When I get home, I might put my winter sleeping bag, although to be honest I don't think there's a huge amount of point, because this is the problem I have. The Exodus, because it's narrower, I don't think my winter sleeping bag is going to fit into it. I think my winter sleeping bag's only going to fit into the original Exodus. That's something I'll check. Okay, now those two stuff sacks, I've put them in the original Prophet here. And they take up a lot of the space in there, up to about here. So this side they go up to just above the drinks pocket here, before there's nothing there, and then the taller one up to here. But you can see they sort of take up, you know, they pretty much fill the bottom of this bag, those two stuff sacks. I haven't squished them down or pushed them or prodded them or anything like that. You would obviously get more in there. I'm just deliberately not, you know, putting more in, so you just get a feel for space. And then I've put the same two stuff sacks here into the Exodus, and you can see it's not that easy to, maybe if I come around this side, hold the camera here, put my hand inside, and where the other one was really snug, where the Prophet was really snug, you can clearly see not only can I get my hand a lot in there, that's my hand touching the bags, and then that's my hand raised up, so there's at least, you know, there's at least a few inches spare in there. Width wise, I can still easily get my hand down inside. So, you know, those same two stuff sacks in here, you can clearly see there's room in front. So now the really interesting bit. First of all, I'm going to keep everybody waiting, including me, for a minute, although you'll have less wait than me, because the editing. I'm just going to make a cup of tea, then I'm going to put the same stuff sacks into the new Cuben fibre Exodus. Okay, with the same two stuff sacks inside, on the outside of it, it appears to be quite snug, but I will be honest, that does not give it the full story. It is bigger than you think, because my hand will rise up in front, but there is less room to the sides inside, so which you would expect, because it's 11 inches wide like the Prophet, and an inch smaller than the original Exodus. And of course the reason why my hand can rise up a little bit is that it's like, it's thicker. It's an inch thicker than the original Prophet, and the same thickness as the original Exodus. It's very confusing. This one actually is easier to look inside here, so you can see there's a little room down the side there, and obviously plenty of room there. It is deceptive. It is deceptive. And it's deceptively roomy when you look at it that way, and deceptively tight as well. This brings me on to the other thing. On one of my camps, it was the last camp that I used this on, I put my -5 sleeping bag in, which is not a winter sleeping bag, and by the time I put everything else in, if I remember rightly, I had it filled up to somewhere up here. It was pretty full, and that's a long way from the shoulder straps. Anywhere up here is a long way from the shoulder straps, and that's just my slight reservation, because it's a little bit narrower than the original Exodus. In order to get the same amount of things into this as the original Exodus, you can get it in, as he actually said to the bishop, you just have to pack it higher up the pack, and it just makes for a longer pack. And it just made it a little bit for me, on the one occasion that I had to do that, just a little bit top heavy, and I had to rearrange things inside so that the heavier bits were, lower down, just to adjust the center of gravity a bit. Like I said, I've not tried putting my winter sleeping bag in. That's a -21 sleeping bag, and that fits in one of the big Cuben fibre stuff sacks, and I don't think that's going to fit in this. It fits comfortably into the Exodus pack, but even with that, you just have to be careful jiggling it in, as it were. So the new Cuben fibre Exodus is kind of like a cross between the Prophet and the Exodus, from what I can tell. So does that make it the Prophet, the Exodus Prophets, or the Exocet? Okay, so now we've sort of compared the 3 packs. Let me tell you more about the Cuben fibre pack. and why I think that, apart from its odd size and the fact that it's a little bit heavier, in many ways I actually prefer it to the other two. First of all, is almost, when you've got a couple of bits inside it, freestanding. Although, to be honest, I think the others would stand up as well. But with the other two, the tops are all very floppy. Whereas this, as you can see, is, you know, is quite solid. So for packing, I have to say this is probably a lot easier. I say you may not be able to get quite as much in, or you may have to pack it further up the pack. And that gives some flexibility as well. If you're taking less, you can just roll the top down more. If you're taking more, then you pack it further up. And I think that's why, why it was done that way. And as I said, I believe the Exodus Cuben fibre is a little bit taller than the Prophet in Cuben fibre. I've got 4 or 5 inches in mind, but I'm not sure. Now, personally, and I may very well take these off, I like to use the hood. I just find it convenient. Water bottle holders, which I put on here and here, and I've put on the sternum strap here and here, the 2 parts. And then I also like hip pockets, which I put on here and here, and I probably took those off another pack. So by the time you've added all of that on, you've got a pack that's over, I can't remember offhand, but it's over 700 grams. I'll say 750. I'll try and remember to put some marks, some comments on the video, but that takes it to around about 730 grams or something like that, which rings a bell. So it's, you know, you could take all that off and you've got a 550 gram pack. To me, I like shoulder pockets for drink pockets, and I like hip pockets to put things in. The hood, I have to say, is debatable. Whether I will use that with this pack long term, I don't know. I just like it just to put little knickknacks in, and, you know, maybe tent pegs in, or just things like that. I just find it convenient. I've had packs that don't have a hood, you know, a lid, and I've just missed it when I've not had it. So as I say, for packing it, it all stands perfectly upright, which is very useful. And you can pack things in, you can see where everything is. Everything is sealed, so theoretically it's going to be a heck of a lot more waterproof or water resistant than the other 2 packs. The only bit that's not sealed, and I'm sure there's a reason for it, but this bit here, these 4 stitches down here, they're not sealed, and they're sort of connected to this bit here. I'm sure there's a reason why they're not sealed, but they're not. I don't quite understand. But Ron does supply glue, and you can get tape. So at some point, when I can get around to it, I will seal that. And once that's sealed, you've effectively got a waterproof pack. If you're a warm sleeper, I'm going to mention a friend on Facebook, David Vaughan, who, chatting with him, he seems to be a warm sleeper. He has this pack, and in the winter, and I believe he camps around here too, so I don't know how he would be further north where it's colder, but certainly down here he said that he can get away with a -5 bag in our winters down here, and he gets that as I can get my -5 pack, a bag, sleeping bag, into this pack. So if you're a warm sleeper, then this pack will be, you know, will be fine. But I'm a freezing cold sleeper, so I have to have a really warm sleeping bag. As I mentioned before, these packs close with a drawstring, and once that drawstring is closed, you then have this compression strap that comes over the top. And again, you don't have to have a hood with those, but I always used one. This closes slightly differently. You have two buttons, one there, one there. There's two clips this side and one clip this side, and it rolls closed. So you've got two options for closing it. You can use the two clips here, roll it closed, and then clip it like that. Or you can use these straps here, one here and one here, and then clip it closed here and here. And then obviously that cinches down that way and that way. And these double up as side compression straps as well. So when you pull this tight, it compresses the side. So these would probably be more useful when it's not full, and then you can compress the sides in a bit if necessary. And when it's full, maybe just clip it across the top like I showed you originally. You also have a strap that comes over the top and joins up with this strap here. And obviously you can loosen, tighten them both up so they actually match up. Obviously the way it is at the moment they won't match up, but very clearly that can come to there, that can go to there, and then that can be tightened up. And there's also another strap here, so this helps keep anything that's in here safe and sound, with one strap here clipping in there, and again that can be done up tighter there as well. I believe Ron did these little bits in such a way that you can cut them off and save a few grams of weight. And I think some people were complaining on his Facebook page that, it was excess straps and things like that. I think any complaints about a few straps like that is a bit silly, I have to say. They're tiny, tiny straps. There's hardly going to be any weight. What weight is there going to be to that? There's not going to be any weight to it whatsoever. And I would suggest keeping them on, because I think they're going to be more useful than not. And then in my instance, I just put the hood over the top like that. And it's a very, very nice pack. As I've used it either once or twice. I can't even remember whether I used it once or twice now. But when I did wear it and carry it and used it, it was really nice. I really, really liked it. And the only reason I'm sort of rabbiting on about these reservations a bit is because I like it so much, it'll almost be a shame that if my winter sleeping bag won't fit in it, I won't be able to use it in the winter and I'll have to go back to the other pack, which is still an excellent pack. But I do like this Cuben fibre pack so much that it might just be a shame if I can't use it, as much as maybe I'd like to. That's the only reason. I might have a tiny bit of disappointment in my voice, because it is so nice. It might be a bit heavier fractionally, you know, you may not be able to get quite as much things into it, although given that, you know, you can pack it up higher, I'm sure you can get the same in. I'm very sure the volume will be the same. I just don't think for winter use for me it's going to be usable. The front obviously has a big pocket here where all of my MLD shelters will fit in that front pocket is really big. You'll get, you know, anything will fit in there. The super mid will fit in there, and obviously anything less than the super mid will fit in there easily. I've not tried the super mid in it, but I do know that it will fit. I can just tell by looking at it that it will. And then you've got big side pockets here which can be done up, tightened up here with this little clip thing here. Again, I've put bungee cord on it because I like bungee cord for putting on you know, foam mats to sit on. The shoulder straps are excellent. I really like the MLD shoulder straps. They're very comfortable, and this carries weight, you know, really nicely. When I pack these, what I do is I deflate my sleeping mat, fold it in half that way so that it's the full length but folded half, and I then kind of fold it into a third approximately, and that acts as my back support thing. Obviously it's not perfect, but it's what I found that for me works very well, of giving shape to the back, stopping anything digging through into my back. It's a good way of carrying it as well, rather than folding it up and putting it somewhere in the pack. And it's a good use of space, because if I put a foam mat in there for the back, which I would normally put outside, that's taking up room inside and I can't get other things in. So that's why I always deflate my bed, and that's my back system. And I've been doing that for years now, and I've not had a problem. I know once someone said you might get a puncture doing that, but that's never happened. Touch wood. I'll have another cup of tea, and I just think if I've missed anything else to talk about these packs, but I really do like this new Exodus pack, and it's the one I will use now nearly all the time when I can. When I come out next time, I'll bring the tarp out again, and I'll probably bring the same pack again next time. The only thing is, if I put even less in it, it might actually be too big. But then that could be interesting to have a very small amount in it and see how it carries that, because normally when I come out in the summer I bring the burn pack, which is very small, or even the little newt, and I've managed to come out with that a couple of times. Alright, I switched cameras for something a bit lighter, but even this one, when I'm holding it up for a long time, is quite, even though it's 270 grams less, it's not that much less, I suppose. Just be aware, you know, a little bit, that if you do fill it to the top, that you're going to have a lot of pack above your head. So that's just one thing just to bear in mind, that, you know, the straps are down here. The height or the distance from strap, from shoulders, from strap to the very top is 15 inches. On the Exodus, from the strap to the top is 16 inches. And from strap to the very top on the Cuben fibre is 17 inches. That's 17 inches of pack. That's a heck of a lot of pack to be having. That's like having the Eiffel Tower above your head or something. So just be aware of that. There's a lot of pack above those, straps. One bizarre thought that the Cuben fiber pack gives me, I can't explain why, but it gives me a feel-good factor as well. Because I've always wanted a Cuben fiber pack, and I know other companies make them. And MLD, I think they've been making them for a few years now, but it's taken me a while to get one. So I kind of sort of feel extra happy that I now have, a Cuben fiber pack. And I think that's worth a lot, even if the dimensions aren't necessarily quite what I was expecting, and it's maybe a bit heavier fractionally. I think just so many of the other advantages come out, and it is just such a nice, comfortable pack. It's just really beautifully made. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, share, etc, etc. And I'll do some more videos soon. Anyway, back to camp now.